Hey, I'm Aaron Hughes. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas, but live in India and run a digital marketing agency.
Awesome. And you have an experience that kind of came to mind while we were talking. Something about your pivotal moment in college. Where did you go to school again? Where did this happen?
So I went to the University of Arkansas, Big Suey, for any Razorback fans out there.
And what happened? What was the day like when this all happened? What were you doing? Where were you going? Where were you when it transpired?
Well, I was actually at a conference. It was, sort of a Christian conference. And for those who grew up in the Bible Belt, you could probably empathize with this a little bit. But a lot of what happens in the Bible Belt ends up becoming, for better or worse, a lot of like just cultural. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm a Christian. Okay, well, what does that really mean? And when I was in college, I was trying to live your typical like frat lifestyle. And so, I was a Christian by name. And really, when it was just convenient for me, of like, yeah, I get forgiven for doing this other stuff, which was getting drunk, hooking up with girls, whatever it was, smoking weed. And so I kind of had this moment at a conference where I never really felt bad about the stuff I did. I just thought it was like, oh, I'm forgiven. And it was almost like during this guy was speaking and he wasn't even really, I guess, talking about this, but it just kind of had this kind of overwhelming sensation. Sat down and all of a sudden became super just convicted of like the stuff I was doing. Because I started thinking about my friends in college that, said they were atheists and like we lived the exact same life. And it's like, well, what the heck is the point of what I claim to believe if like there's no difference in our life? There should be a difference. And, that was kind of this. I actually went back to the hotel room and I wept. Like, there was a guy an older lame guy that was kind of walking with me in the process. And he was like, I was just weeping in front of him of just like a little baby of like having just like a midlife crisis. What the heck am I doing in my life? And that was a pivotal moment. I've had moments like that before that were more superficial or like a conference high where then you go back and you just go back to the same routine. But this was different. This was something where I went back to college and totally changed everything that I was doing, which led me to where I am now. And I'm thankful for it. I often think about, had I not had that moment, what would my life be like? And I think it would be really messy and different. But yeah, that was kind of that I guess pivotal moment of what happened.
What was the feeling? You said that you were sitting there and you were listening to this guy speak, but what was the feeling that went through your body? What was the physiological experience that you had?
And, I don't know if you've ever just like gotten crazy news. It's almost like you can't stand up. I was sitting down. I was a little shaky. There was just a lot of thoughts going through my mind, and it was something that was hard to externalize or verbalize to my friends. And so to the bystander next to me, it probably looked really weird of like, what the heck is wrong with Aaron? But it was just one of those things where I also felt at the same time, I felt a sense of peace of like, I felt like um, I've kind of realized what's important in life. And I felt a calming that like God loves me. And I no longer have to be in this uh, rat race of just like living a hypocritical life. So I felt peace, but at the same time, I felt this really deep desire to change. And I immediately started thinking through people I knew who didn't know Jesus that I was like, man, I want to go try to reach them. And so I had been honestly a really selfish person my entire life and still have obviously selfish tendencies, but it was weird because I knew it wasn't from me because I started thinking about the welfare of other people in a really weird way that I'd never had before. And I'd done some pretty crappy things in college, honestly. So that's how I knew it wasn't for me. My whole mindset started to shift. And so just felt a peace and felt a kind of like a desire for action, a desire for change.
Mm. What was the thing that you did right away? Right, you went back to the hotel and you were crying, but what actionable change did you make at that point in your life that was the most significant to keep you consistent? That wasn't like a flash in the pan.
Yeah. So I don't, this is going to be a little weird, but one of my deepest desires when I was in college was to kind of like, I guess I really cared what people thought about me. And so what that meant was I wanted to be in the cool fraternity. I wanted to have a hot girlfriend from a good sorority and just maintain this image, right? So my sophomore year in college, I was dating this girl, and it got to the point we were like looking at engagement rings, but it was primarily kind of a platonic type of relationship, and it wasn't. I wouldn't say in the moment I didn't realize this, but it wasn't a healthy relationship, and it was something where I was looking to her to fulfill kind of my desires and vice versa, which I think is where you, in most marriages, that's where the issue, like where you start seeing divorces, is like when you're looking to your spouse to fulfill your need, where most marriages become miserable. And so I knew I had that moment that, like, for me to grow in my walk with God, that I had to end this relationship. And it was extremely terrifying because most of my identity was wrapped up in this relationship. And I'm not looking back, I probably did things poorly, but I remember like I bought Chick-fil-A lunch and I was bringing it to her house to have the conversation. And I had talked about this with the guy that was mentoring me, and we knew we had to do it. And so there were always awkward conversations, but basically told her where I was at and that we had to end things. And it wasn't fun, but it was one of those pivotal moments that was the change that needed to happen to then kind of reboot, I guess, my entire life.
I love it. You own a digital marketing agency. So as an entrepreneur, have you ever had a moment where you felt like a strong intuitive nudge that led you to make a key business decision?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I do a lot of the sales and marketing, and a lot of sales and marketing is like intuitive nudges of like what brand to go after. Um, and so a lot of times I'll be randomly looking on LinkedIn or Amazon, and I'll come across a brand and just get this gut feeling of, I feel like this owner and I probably have things in common, and so I'll reach out. And but a lot of our clients end up just from random happenstance. I'll come across their product or a listing and just kind of get this feeling about, man, I know that we're supposed to do business for this company. And sometimes we've had clients that it's taken like 2 years to like culminate, but it will happen. So it sounds weird, but sometimes my gut will tell me, hey, I think we're supposed to do something with this business. And it often does happen.
If it doesn't work out immediately, right? Like, they're like, oh no, actually, like we don't need your service, or like I'm not interested at all. Do you find yourself like like I know this is gonna happen. I have this feeling. Like, do you find yourself pushing more and finding success in that extra resilience?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for example, there was one of the largest retailers in the country, actually. I had a personal connection to someone inside, and I knew, like, because our values as companies were aligned, even though we were small. And I was like, dude, I will work for this company. I don't care what it takes. It took 2 years, and they kept telling me no. They kept ignoring my emails, but I'm just kind of like a little OCD or ADHD, and I like could not let it go. I would email like every few weeks or every couple of weeks and just keep following up, because I just knew, like, if I could get in the door. And once we did a trial project, they liked the results. But it's just one of those things where there is sometimes, it's only probably happened a few times, where it's like, I know that I'm supposed to work with this company, and it doesn't happen fast or easily, but it'll happen.
How do you said that you're like on LinkedIn, or you're looking on Amazon for a brand? Is there a way that you prepare for that intuition? Is there a meditation that you do beforehand? Is there a schedule or like routine that you follow that helps you stay keenly aware of that intuition during your day? Have you built any habits around like making sure that you are tuned in to that intuition, where if you're not, you could say, oh, I have to do my thing. I have to like follow my steps to then like rise to that higher level of consciousness so that I'm aware of those things.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a few things I do. But I would say my ADHD is kind of like my superpower, because I've built guardrails in my life to get things done, whether it's a to-do list or whatever. But randomly, like, I'll think of to follow up with somebody like 3 months later, just because I'll have the thought in my mind. And so I try to immediately get on my phone and go, okay, I need to follow up with this person. But like in the morning, I have the habit since college of like waking up and reading the Bible and praying and kind of getting mentally prepared. but another big thing is like leaving space for if you just, I've read so many books on like how to optimize your time. And sometimes these gurus like take it too far where like every second of every day is planned. And if that is the case in your schedule, there is no opportunity for these random things to pop up and like ideas. And so I try to purposely give time to like, honestly, my wife probably thinks I waste a lot of time because she'll walk in and like just see me randomly scrolling on LinkedIn. But a lot of times that's where stuff like the juices start flowing. I'll see, like the other day, I'll tell you, for example, Dude Perfect, the YouTubers. I kind of had this gut feeling, even though they're huge, I was like, man, I feel like I'm supposed to work with Dude Perfect, and because they have products on Amazon. And so I've got an email drafted up to send to the Dude Perfect guys. But that all happened just kind of random scrolling and just thinking like, man, Dude Perfect, they're huge, but like, I feel like there might be something there. And so I believe that I'm going to chase down. But it wouldn't have happened if there wasn't this kind of time of this maybe seemingly inefficient, just scrolling or YouTube stuff. So I think we need to, optimize our schedule, but not to the point where there's no creativity left.
Almost, if you're going to optimize your schedule, you might as well optimize it around serendipity, right? Like, give me my afternoon after I have a full tummy and I've completed a bunch of tasks for the day to get myself into that mindset where I'm open to the lucky parts, the serendipitous parts of running a business.
Right.
I've been in the Amazon space for a long time, and I can tell you that the chive.com.
Yeah.
Show now. So I was a long-time consumer of their content. I've loved them for years. And they were one of the ones where I was like, I got to work with the Chive. And they were also the ones that were like, no, we don't need whatever you are having to offer us. And that was one that I freaking took a battle axe to the front door. I was just like, no, you guys are going to work with me. And we ended up doing a project together, and it was great. And didn't work with the owners at all, just like their lower level marketing people, but mission accomplished, right? Check mark. Yeah. And then the second one was, I couldn't tell you to this day how it happened. They like literally cold emailed me. I think one of our clients referenced us to them, but it was the site, This Is Why I'm Broke. And it's just like, they're like a product, they make 99% of their money from product affiliation on websites and Amazon. They just, like stuff, and then people traffic to it. And they've got, I think, like 15 million subscribers, like something crazy. And randomly out of nowhere, I got the most, it told me about the culture of the company, which I really appreciated, but like no subject line, no hello, just like, hey, I think we're supposed to work together. And then their signature. And that was it. First, I thought it was spam.
Yeah.
But it turns out they had this big need they were doing their own products, right? They wanted to start launching their own. They had some white label ideas. They had some, some friends and family and other stuff that they were trying to get into, but just totally trust in.
That's happened a few times to me where you think it's like you're like a millisecond from deleting an email, and then you realize, oh wait, that's not spam.
Yeah, this is real. Where everyone find you?
So LinkedIn's probably the best. I'll share my LinkedIn profile, but I love connecting on LinkedIn. So send me a friend request.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
This has been the Pulse Ox podcast. Please, if you found this episode valuable, give us a like on Spotify and share it with a friend.